Today, I'm explaining every single League of Legends champion in just one sentence each, from A to Z, no exceptions. This is either genius or a terrible idea. Angry sword demon who solves every emotional problem by becoming larger and redder. Nine-tailed fox whose real power is making people walk into skill shots on purpose. Professional smoke bomb enthusiast and part-time backline HR violation. Grapples in, revives half the lobby, and acts like you're the unfair one. A giant cow whose life philosophy is, what if walls were just suggestions? Walks at you like a military budget with legs, and somehow that is enough. A sad mummy, proving that depression can, in fact, have area of effect damage. Icebird committed to the noble art of making mid lane take forever. Tiny child. Giant bear. Deeply concerning fire safety record. 5 guns, 1 haircut, 0 intention of explaining anything. Auto-filled queen of slowly ruining your day from 2 screens away. A cosmic dragon who speaks like a god and farms like a tax audit. Teleports around being whimsical while deleting your health bar like it's an accident. Spends the whole game building an empire just to get punched by 1 fish. Magical janitor who appears, steals experience, and leaves without elaborating. Void Empress whose hobby is turning every objective into a pyramid scheme. 1 robot hand, 1 bad angle, 1 instant team-wide blame session. A flaming reminder that standing near your teammates is sometimes a war crime. The nicest man alive, carrying a door and several terrible ideas. Weaponized zoomies with fangs and absolutely no indoor voice. Sheriff of stand still so I can make this feel personal. Rich ant with knife legs who audits your existence for inefficiency. Snake lady whose main talent is making movement feel optional. Starts as a nuisance and ends as municipal infrastructure. Tiny pilot committed to proving that package delivery can be terrorism. Dunking enthusiast whose entire personality is 1 stack away from your obituary. Moon warrior who sees a backline and immediately forgets every social norm. Purple medical malpractice given sentience and a cleaver. Narcissism with axes, applause, and excellent beard maintenance. Teen genius using time travel for noble causes like fixing his own bad engages. Spider queen who insists every problem can be improved with more legs. Demon assassin specializing in invisibility, emotional damage, and bad decisions. Archaeologist who discovered that confidence is more important than accuracy. A haunted scarecrow that sounds like your worst voicemail and plays like it too. French sword snob who treats combat like a Yelp review of your footwork. Gremlin fish, proving that the ocean makes people insufferable. Giant statue who exists purely to tell mages absolutely not. Pirate CEO of barrels, oranges, and labor violations. Spins, yells, Demacia! And calls that a complete worldview. Cute hamster 1 second, prehistoric anger management failure the next. Drunken brawler whose tactical genius begins and ends with body slamming. Shotgun uncle with a cigar and permanent trust issues. Living doll who turned sewing supplies into a war crime. Ghost horse whose whole identity is running at bad ideas faster. Tiny scientist proving turrets are what happen when nerds hold grudges. Sad art student painting his feelings directly onto your death recap. Priestess of tentacles and deeply invasive performance reviews. Floating blade ballerina who makes murder look like extra credit. Friendly tree who came to the rift to hug monsters and ruin smite fights. Weather app with a superiority complex. Royal spear guy whose boldest strategy is trapping everyone, including allies, in his feelings. Imagine being this smug while fighting with a lamppost. Scientist politician influencer who brought 2 weapons to compensate for 1 personality. Serial killer with theater kid energy and a TED talk about the number 4. Human disaster siren powered entirely by chaos and poor impulse control. Survived the void and came back dressed like expensive sci-fi. Vengeful ghost who turned trust falls into a binding contract. Spiritual icon whose inner peace ends the 2nd lane phase starts. Undead choir boy who contributes to fights by legally not being there. Void dad whose solution to everything is silence and purple blinking. Knife tornado for players who believe consequences are for other people. Starts as a minion and eventually files divine paperwork against the whole enemy team. Edgy teenager carrying a demon scythe and somehow still being the drama. Tiny lightning squirrel with the confidence of a final boss. Alien bug who thinks alone is a personality trait. Death, but make it poetic, furry, and weirdly calming. Angry lizard cowboy who treats common sense as enemy propaganda. Vomit puppy with the range of a regional airport. Tank, bruiser, bodyguard, wall destroyer, and patch notes regular. Illusionist whose main skill is making every replay look fake. Blind monk who somehow sees every ward hop you forgot to respect. Solar paladin whose love language is hard engage. Shy deer mage who politely puts you to sleep before the trauma. Ice witch whose customer service policy is permanent entombment. Dual pistol action hero permanently one dash away from overcommitting. A whimsical support if whimsy meant irreversible psychological warfare. Friendly laser cannon who giggles while violating line-of-sight conventions. Literal rock, whose greatest strength is that nobody ever respects the obvious. Prophet of the Void and founder of the Press R Remove Fun movement. Angry tree throwing smaller, angrier trees because parenting is hard. Runs at light speed to test whether your team believes in crowd control. Reflects your projectiles back at you like the world's most expensive "no you." Cheerful child support whose little fireballs somehow outheal your life choices. Pirate gunslinger who solves geometry with bullets. Metal ghost who drags you into Brazil and calls it gameplay. Fallen angel specializing in roots, shields, and making you regret optimism. A whole pack of desert dogs proving one assassin was simply not annoying enough. Fish support whose bubbles are somehow both magical and humiliating. Ancient dog scholar who spends 20 minutes reading and then one-shots you with literacy. Deep sea tank whose anchor diplomacy is surprisingly persuasive. Chameleon trickster who weaponized identity theft for comedy. Spear thrower who either misses everything or deletes you from another postcode. Smiling demon whip acrobat who turned joy into an AoE mechanic. Sleep paralysis with a loading screen. Wholesome boy and Yeti duo delivering friendship at terminal velocity. Shirtless Viking who considers low health a buff. Clockwork lady and her emotionally unavailable metal orb. Grumpy blacksmith whose customer support includes knocking you airborne. Spearman too angry to stay dead, retired, or balanced. Tiny hammer knight who spends all game denying your mobility privileges. Drowned murderer who thinks team fighting is a profit-sharing model. Elementalist empress whose ego is somehow still larger than her alt hitbox. Scout ranger whose bird does most of the resume work. Charismatic peacock who flirts, engages, and dies beautifully. Says okay. And somehow that's still more communication than solo queue deserves. Underground shark mole nightmare with zero interest in surface etiquette. Metal-bending rebel who turns horse girl energy into crowd control. Kim Baroness who weaponized management speak and capitalism. Crocodile rage machine who looks one inconvenience away from cable news. Trophy hunter fueled by bushes, ego, and HR complaints from Kazakhs. Broken sword, broken nation, unbroken ability to animation cancel your hopes. Angry yordle in a scrap mech, essentially a science fair gone violent. Blue wizard on an eternal road trip with several apocalypse-class books. Style points enthusiast who treats gunfights like a dance recital. Ice warlord riding a boar because horses are apparently too reasonable. Giant gun, giant soul, giant odds of making the lane miserable. Pop star support, whose concerts are legally indistinguishable from zoning tools. Pit boss, whose strategic depth is, what if these hands had more hands? Evil clown for people who think trust is an outdated mechanic. Ninja therapist forever leaving lane to fix other people's mistakes. Half-dragon bruiser waiting patiently to become everybody's wildfire problem. Mad chemist who taught the player base that running away can be aggressive. Undead siege engine powered entirely by unresolved issues. Ricochet queen whose boomerang says teamwork is optional if angles are good. Crystal scorpion who kidnaps carries and calls it target selection. Baby dragon who starts adorable and scales into elder abuse. Silent musician loudly ruining fights with tasteful chord progression. Space goat doctor who heals everyone except your decision-making. Demon general who stares at one crow and somehow knows your browser history. Shirtless revolutionary whose favorite hobby is borrowing your ult and doing it better. Floating goth mage flinging dark spheres and disdain in equal measure. River demon with the voice of a jazz club and the morals of a loan shark. Rock surfer whose greatest joy is making dashes feel embarrassing. Parkour assassin who treats architecture like a ladder. Fabulous gemstone paladin proving immortality can, in fact, sparkle. Cute scout and internationally recognized hate crime. Lantern ghost who collects souls and occasionally your support's self-respect. Tiny gunner with a cannon and absolutely no concept of moderation. Troll king who steals your stats and your will to continue. Barbarian whose defining trait is a legally suspicious relationship with death. Card shark cowboy who turns gambling addiction into map presence. Sewer rat marksman proving filth scales surprisingly well. Barefoot druid who channels animal spirits and all of top lane's unresolved tension. Corporate crab tank whose body is a motivational poster for bad outcomes. Darken archer, plus 2 extra guys, somehow still one mood. Dramatic. Crossbow vigilante whose answer to tanks is perish but stylishly. Tiny evil mage with the confidence of a supervillain and the height of a carry minion. Floating eyeball committed to academic research through disintegration. Depressed yordle proving apathy can absolutely be weaponized. Punch first detective whose investigative process is mostly drywall removal. Ruined King whose kingdom fell because he simply could not take no for an answer. Machine Herald who looked at humanity and chose software updates. Blood Mage and suspiciously elegant uncle nobody leaves alone with the wine. Storm Godbear whose diplomacy begins with thunder and ends with your turret missing. Chemtech Werewolf sniffing out low HP bars like coupons. Monkey Trickster whose clone has probably outplayed you harder than the original. Feathered Rebel who weaponized relationship issues into critical strikes. Arcane Battery operating at unsafe voltage and unsafe attitude. Loyal Spear Hero forever, one shout away from a dynasty drama. Wind Samurai and patron saint of going 0 out of 10 with conviction. Yasuo, but with 2 swords and even less interest in therapy. Graveyard landlord raising tenants who never pay rent. New face, same old Riot tradition. Somehow another champion who can make you ask, what killed me? Magical Catbook Parasite for people who wanted untargetability as a lifestyle. Newest Mystery Menace, arriving to remind everyone the roster was apparently still too manageable. Sentient Slime, proving that elasticity and personal boundaries are opposites. Shadow Ninja, whose main ability is making your ADC disappear from existence and morale. Hyperactive Electric Gremlin sprinting around like caffeine got a railgun. Demolitions Yordle, who mistakes every lane for urban renewal. Time Wizard, who either saves idiots or enables them, sometimes both. Cosmic Child with glitter, portals, and felony-level burst damage. Plant Mage, whose gardening method is aggressive and carnivorous.